Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.20. Tasmad bhavanto hridayena jata sarve mahiyam samamum sanabham aklishta buddhya bharatam bhajadvam Shushrushanam tad bharanam prajanam. Tasmat, therefore, because I am the Supreme. Bhavantah, you, hridayena, from my heart. Jatah, born. Sarve, all. Mahiyamsam, the best. Amum, that. Sanabham, brother. Aklishta buddhya, with your intelligence, without material contamination. Bharatam, Bharata. Bhajadvam, just try to serve. Shushrushanam, service. Tat, that. Bharanam prajanam, ruling over the citizens. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: My dear boys, you are all born of my heart, which is the seat of all spiritual qualities. Therefore, you should not be like materialistic and envious men. You should accept your eldest brother Bharata, who is exalted in devotional service. If you engage yourselves in Bharat's service, your service to him will include my service, and you will rule the citizens automatically. Please repeat. My dear boys, you are all born of my heart, which is the seat of all spiritual qualities. Therefore, you should not be like materialistic and envious men. You should accept your eldest brother Bharata, who is exalted in devotional service. If you engage yourselves in Bharata's service, your service to him will include my service, and you will rule the citizens automatically. Purport. In this verse, the word Hridaya indicates the heart, which is also called Uraha, the chest. The heart is situated within the chest, and although instrumentally the son is born with the aid of the genitals, he is actually born from within the heart. According to the heart's situation, the semen takes the form of a body. Therefore, according to the Vedic system, when one begets a child, his heart should be purified through the ritualistic ceremony known as Garbhadhana. Rishabdev's heart was always uncontaminated and spiritual. Consequently, all the sons born from the heart of Rishabdev were spiritually inclined. Nonetheless, Rishabdev suggested that his eldest son was superior and he advised the others to serve him. All the brothers of Bharat Maharaj were advised by Rishabdev to adhere to Bharata's service. The question may be asked why one should be attached to family members, for in the beginning it was advised that one should not be attached to home and family. However, it is also advised Mahiyasam Padarajobhisheka. One has to serve the Mahiyan, one who is very spiritually advanced. Mahat Sevam Dvaram Ahur Vimukte. Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.2. By serving the Mahat, the exalted devotee, one's path for liberation is open. The family of Rishabdev should not be compared to an ordinary materialistic family. Bharat Maharaj, Rishabdev's eldest son, was specifically very exalted. For this reason, the other sons were advised to serve him for his pleasure. That was to be their duty. Supreme Lord was advising Bharat Maharaj to be the chief ruler of the planet. This is the real plan of the Supreme Lord. In the battle of Kurukshetra, we find that Lord Krishna wanted Maharaj Yudhishthira to be the supreme emperor of this planet. He never wanted Duryodhan to take the post. As stated in the previous verse, Lord Rishabhadev's heart is Hridayam Yatra Dharma. The characteristic dharma is also explained in Bhagavad Gita. Surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. To protect dharma, paritranaya sadhunam, the Lord always wants the ruler of the earth to be a devotee. Then everything goes on nicely for the benefit of everyone. As soon as a demon rules the earth, everything becomes chaotic. At the present moment, the world is inclined toward the democratic process, but the people in general are all contaminated by the modes of passion and ignorance. Consequently, they cannot select the right person to head the government. The president is selected by the votes of ignorant Shudras, therefore, another Shudra is elected, and immediately the entire government becomes polluted. If people strictly followed the principles of Bhagavad Gita, they would elect a person who is the Lord's devotee. Then automatically there would be good government. Rishabhdev therefore recommended Bharat Maharaj as the emperor of this planet. Serving a devotee means serving the Supreme Lord, for a devotee always represents the Lord. When a devotee is in charge, the government is always congenial and beneficial for everyone. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmelitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.20. This chapter, Rishabhdev, the incarnation of Supreme Lord, he instructs his 100 sons. And in the beginning, he says clearly that, what is that, 5.5.1? Kashtan kaman arhate vidbhujam ye. Nayam deha bhajam nirlokem. Kashtan kaman arhate vidbhujam ye. See how many lectures Prabhupada gave on that topic. Still lectures. Now it is going to the book reference. This is a very important verse. Tapo divyam putraka yena sattvam shuddhed yasmad brahma saukhyam dvanantam. Now he was speaking to 100 sons and he is saying that it is better not to engage in family life. There is like a contradiction. How come he is speaking to 100 sons and who will follow him? But begetting children is there is no limitation in that. But the limitation is whether one can bring them up in Krishna consciousness or not. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, I am brahmachari, but if I can easily be a grihastha and produce hundreds of children, but I am not confident in this Kali Yuga that they will all become devotees, so I refrain. So there is a responsibility that comes with it. It's not just some pleasure and that's it. So it's a very great responsibility. And as Prabhupada mentions in the purport here, that there has to be garbhadhan samskar before begetting a child. course, in our movement, Prabhupada gave that 50 rounds. The parents chant 50 rounds at least. Because everybody is do Garbhadan Samskar, Prabhupada will be disturbed every moment. 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 disciples. So, Rishabdev, he is saying that Tasmad Bhavanto Hridayena Jata Sarve Mahiyam Samamum Sanabham Aklishta Buddhya Bharatam Bhajadham Shushrushanam Tadbharanam Prajanam. Now, many important words are here. Sanabham is sibling. It is also called Sahodara. Udara means belly or womb. Sahodara means person born of the same womb, means a sibling, and especially male. Sahodari, that is female. So, in the beginning, he said family life is a great attachment and it will entangle us. But here he is saying that please be attached to your brother. There is this verse. Mukundamala Stotra. Krishna to ye madana pavanodbhuta mohormimale dharavarte tanaya sahaja graha sangha kulecha. Here, the okay, next two lines also, so it's all complete explanation. Samsarakhe mahati jaladho majjatam nastridhaman padam bhoje varada bhavato bhakti navam prayacha. So the material world is considered like a ocean. And in the ocean, it's not just ocean, there are so many creatures. So, Lord of the three worlds, we are drowning in the vast ocean of samsara, which is filled with the waters of material hankering. So, this ocean is made of what? Water of material hankering, with many waves of illusion whipped up by the winds of lust. So, the storm is created by our own lust. With whirlpools of wives, dharavarta. Avarta means whirlpool. Trinavarta, that is also like a tornado. So the avarta is like that. So what does avarta do? The whirlpool drags you down. Already the ocean is bad, and then drag you down even more. So attachment to wife, children, this drags us even to the bottom of the ocean. With whirlpools of wives and with vast schools of sharks and other sea monsters who are our sons and brothers. So we have so much attachment to our family, but here they are considered like monsters and sharks, graha. O giver of all benedictions, please grant me a place on the boat of devotion that is your lotus feet. So this is the prayer. There is another verse which Prabhupada also quotes. What is that? Swajanakya dasyu. 22 what? किम आत्मनानेन जहाति योऽन्ततः किम रिक्तहारैः स्वजनाख्यदस्युभिः किम जायया संसृतिहेतुभूतया मर्त्यस्य गेहैः किमिहायुषो व्ययः. What is the use of the material body which automatically leaves its owner at the end of life? And what is the use of all one's family members who are actually plunderers, taking away money that is useful for the service of the Lord in spiritual opulence? What is the use of a wife? She is only the source of increasing material conditions. And what is the use of family, home, country, and community? Attachment for them merely wastes the valuable energy of one's lifetime. So, anybody who's trying to get into family life can meditate on this verse. So, These are the descriptions. Another one is also nice. What is that? Jackal one. Huh? Hopefully, I'll find something. Found it. 513.2. Is it? I think a prose. यस्यामिमेषन्नरदेवदस्यवः सार्थं विलुम्पन्ति कुनायकं बलात् गोमायवो यत्र हरन्ति सार्थिकं प्रमत्तमाविश्य यथोरणं वृकाः. O King Rahugana, in this forest of material existence, just now material existence compared to ocean, now forest. All are uninhabitable situations. In this forest of material existence, there are 6 very powerful plunderers. When the conditioned soul enters the forest to acquire some material gain, the 6 plunderers misguide him. Thus, the conditioned merchant does not know how to spend his money and it is taken away by these plunderers. Like tigers, jackals, and other ferocious animals in a forest that are ready to take away a lamb from the custody of its protector, the wife and children enter the heart of the merchant and plunder him in so many ways. Here, wife and children compared to jackals. This is the other one. Is it? Yeah. 5:13:26. All prose. You read the translation. King Parikshit then told Shukadeva Goswami, "My dear Lord, O great devotee sage, you are omniscient. You have very nicely described the position of the conditioned soul who is compared to a merchant in the forest. From these instructions, intelligent man can understand that the senses of a person in the bodily conception are like rogues and thieves in that forest, and one's wife and children are like jackals and other ferocious animals. However, it is not very easy for the unintelligent to understand the purport of this story because it is difficult to extricate the exact meaning from the allegory. I therefore request Your Holiness to give the direct meaning." So anyway, all these descriptions are there. So, material life, family attachment is very much condemned in Srimad Bhagavatam. But here, Rishabdev is also at the same time saying to his 99 other sons that you follow this eldest son, King Bharat. So the idea is that one has to follow in the footsteps of a great devotee, and the verse says his service to him will include my service. That is a fact. I mean, Prabhupada followed the order of his spiritual master and went to America to preach in the Western countries. And that includes the service of Krishna. What is the service to the instruction of the spiritual master? He will instruct us in the service of Krishna. So if we serve Krishna through the instructions of the spiritual master, then that is a perfect way to attain Krishna. Ye me bhakta jana partha, na me bhaktascha te jana. Mad bhaktanam cha ye bhaktas, na me bhakta tamamata. No, this. 11:28. This is from the Adi Puran. Krishna says to Arjuna, those who are my direct devotees are actually not my devotees. But those who are the devotees of my servant are factually my devotees. So for this, we have to follow the instructions of the great devotee. And that devotee may or may not come in the same family. For example, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was born of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And both are Mahabhagavat. And from his early childhood, he used to serve his father in all kinds of services that Bhaktivinoda Thakur was engaged in, especially printing and publication. From a very young age, from the age of 7 years old, he was already very busily engaged in helping his father in the printing and other work. In fact, he memorized the entire Bhagavad Gita and could explain everything at the age of 7. So in that sense, there is nothing wrong for Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur to be attached to Bhaktivinoda Thakur. In fact, that attachment is not like material attachment. It is attachment only because of Krishna. So everything has to be through Krishna. Even family attachment. In fact, our philosophy is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The entire world is one family. Why we should be attached to only our own family? We should be attached to the entire world as our family. And that is how a preacher actually preaches. We are very concerned about our own family member. If our own family member is, sick or something, we will spend thousands of dollars. We will not hesitate. We will beg, borrow, steal, or whatever. We will do it. But if somebody else's family member is going through the same thing, we will not be as much concerned. Of course, that is a crude example. Not that we have to be concerned with every person in the world. Krishna is there. He is the controller and he is maintaining everyone. But the thing is, our affection for our family members is way greater than for others. And sometimes devotees are criticized that, you leave the home, you leave family. Every great acharya has left home and taken sannyas. So sometimes they are criticized, there is no responsibility. But actually, as the Shadgoswami Ashtaka says, Tyaktva turnamashesha mandalapatim Shrenim sada tuchhavat bhutva dina ganeshakau karunaya kaupina kanthashritau. So they have given up not only their family but also their government position, because as a king is supposed to be like a father of the entire state. And praja must be treated as one's own children. You see? So even that is also a family. So tyaktva turnam ashesha mandalapatim, they have given up. And they have worn just loincloths, very bare minimum, and they were living like mendicants, Goswamis. Now, is that irresponsibility? Because Sanatana Goswami also gave up his government service. And Nawab Hussain Shah, he was not happy about it. So they give up job, they give up family. But is that irresponsibility? No. They have given up small idea of a family and have taken the ultimate idea of a family as their mission. Because Krishna says, Sarva yonishu kaunteya murtaya, sambhavanti murtaya ja, tasam brahma mahadyonir aham bija pradah pita. Krishna says, I am the father of everyone. So everyone are my children. So if Krishna is the father of everyone, then we are all one family. And that is the real family. Because that is our real relation with each other. In a house, there are brothers, sisters. How are they related? Because of their parents. They're born of the same parents. Otherwise, they may disagree on many things and they may, but they are connected eternally. At least for that body, they are connected. They cannot say that he is not my brother. Although they may not like him or whatever. But they cannot say. So similarly, in this world, ichha dvesha samutthena. Sometimes we accept some people as friends, some as enemies, some as neutral parties. Or sometimes an enemy becomes a friend becomes an enemy. So these things may change, but these are all ephemeral on the surface. But the underlying relation that we have because of our relation to Krishna does not change. And a person who understands and realizes that relationship will not hesitate to preach Krishna consciousness. Because if my own brother is going to suffer or is suffering, will I not actually help him if there is affection? We will do anything within our means. So how can we see someone suffering and just stay standing by? That is not the sign of a person who is actually learned or who understands things as they are. That's why if one does not preach, he hasn't really understood anything in Krishna consciousness. Third class devotee does not preach. Stop it. Third class devotee does not preach. Second class, he preaches. Why? Because he understands that this is my brother or sister, ultimately. And they all belong to Krishna. And he's suffering. And even though they may not look like suffering, they may not look like they are suffering. Sometimes they have smile on their faces, superficially looks everything nice. But we must know that they are suffering. Because Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi, how can they escape? We should not be fooled by a so-called smile on the face or somebody who's dancing away on TikTok. Oh, he's having a happy life. No, don't be fooled. So, we have to be convinced that without Krishna consciousness, one cannot be happy. Even though they may say whatever they are lying. They are lying. So, here Rishabdev is asking his brothers to follow their brother, the eldest one, Bharat Maharaj. Now, Bharat Maharaj was a Kshatriya. And there were, I think 81 of them became Brahmanas. 9 of them became Paramahamsas, Vaishnavas. And of course, all Vaishnavas, but especially like Babaji Vaishnav. And another 10 were Kshatriyas, if I'm not wrong. So Bharat Maharaj was one of them. So although some were Paramahamsas, still he asked them to follow Bharat Maharaj. So again, that is another example to show that one's advancement in Krishna consciousness does not have to depend on external insignia or symbols or dress. Arjuna, Krishna chose Arjuna to speak the Bhagavad Gita to. There were many qualified sages and saintly persons at that time. He could have chosen any one of them, but he chose Arjuna because it is not based on material qualification. In that case, women usually are considered materially less intelligent, but the highest devotees are women. Even Mother Yashoda or Kunti Devi, women, simple. But the great sannyasis chant the shlokas of Kunti Devi and Radharani, Lakshmi Devi. They chant the verses that are spoken by these people. So who is greater actually? Yogis are trying to capture the Lord for a moment if they can, and spending thousands of years to do that. And Yashoda Maya is just binding him like that with a rope. So how much more powerful is Mother Yashoda than any other yogi or sannyasi or Baba or whatever? So spiritually, there is no bar. When one becomes Krishna conscious, he will transcend material limitations. But this is for those who have perfected. I should not think that yesterday I was not chanting, so today I am chanting, I am greater than anyone. That is a sign of a person who is lower than anyone. A person who is actually low, he will think that he is the best. Who is actually the best, he will think he is the lowest. Sarvottam apna ke hina kore mane. Sarvottam apna ke hina kore mane. Although pure devotee standard is above all, he still considers himself to be in the lowest stage of life. In fact, the 23, 29 is the feeling of a devotee. Na prema shravanadi bhaktirapi va yogothava vaishnavo jnanam va shubha karma va kiyadaho sajjatirapyasti va हीनार्थाधिकसाधके त्वयि तथाप्यच्छेद्यमूला सती हे गोपीजनवल्लभ व्यथयते हा हा मदाशैव माम्. So, here is how a devotee feels. O my Lord, I do not have any love for you, nor am I qualified for discharging devotional service by chanting and hearing, nor do I possess the mystic power of a Vaishnava, knowledge, or pious activities, nor do I belong to a very high caste family. On the whole, I do not possess anything. Still, O beloved of the gopis, because you bestow your mercy on the most fallen, I have an unbreakable hope that is constantly in my heart. That hope is always giving me pain. So, this is how a devotee actually feels about himself. Mahiyamsam, this is important. Mahat sevam dvara mahar vimukte. And in another place, Mahiyasam pad rajobhishekam nishkinchananam navranita yavat. Prahlad Maharaj has spoken, and Jada Bharat has also spoken the same thing. So, because the brother Bharat was a Mahiyamsam, great devotee, serving such a devotee is not material attachment. There is this verse. असङ्गमजरं पाशम् आत्मनः कवयो विदुः स एव साधु सुकृतो मोक्षद्वारमपावृतम्. Every learned man knows very well that attachment for the material is the greatest entanglement of the spirit soul. But that same attachment, when applied to the self-realized devotees, opens the door of liberation. The same thing is said here. संगो यः संसतेर्हेतुर् असत्सु विहितो धिया स एव साधु सुकृतो निःसंगत्वाय कल्पते. Association for sense gratification is certainly the path of bondage. But the same type of association performed with a saintly person leads to the path of liberation, even if performed without knowledge. So, attachment is natural for us. We have to be attached. We actually cannot be detached. Because we're dependent. Our existence, we are not Swarat. One can be truly detached only when one does not have to depend on anything. And only the Lord can do that. He is completely Swarat. But every one of us, Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadhati Kaman. So our necessities are fulfilled by the Lord, either directly, or for the devotees it's directly, or for everyone else through the Lord's agents. For example, when a child is born, until the child is born, there is no milk in the breasts of the mother. And when the child is born, immediately there is milk ready. So, where is the maintenance coming from? Even the mother does not know how it is happening. But this is the Lord's arrangement. The Lord is maintaining the child through the agency of the mother. And even before being born, while the child is in the womb, the placenta of the mother is nourishing. I mean, the mother has no idea how this is going on. The Lord is maintaining through the agency, proxy, through a proxy. So the demigods, one's own father and mother, even one's government. Now we are safely sitting here discussing Bhagavatam. If there was no strong government, some thief will come, all kind of criminal there will be chaos everywhere. The exact word for such a situation is macabre. Means fear of death. You can't even live in peace. So if that is the situation, how can we peacefully sit down in one place? So we are indebted to that arrangement. And so the Lord is maintaining us through all these agents. So ultimately the Lord is the one who is actually maintaining everyone. Huh? But through these agents. So To understand that, and instead of just getting attached to the body, if we understand that, oh, this is um, the arrangement of the Lord, then, and especially through saintly persons, they are direct representatives of God. In fact, every representative of any kind, any leader, should be a representative of God. That's why king is called Naradeva. He is God among humans, or the representative of God among humans. That means what? Not that only he accepts the worship that is accorded to God, but also carries out the maintenance as per God's instruction or God's plan. He must carry out the duty as well, not just in the matter of receiving worship. So, who is that responsible person in society? Who are the responsible people? You know, many times women, nowadays, especially women liberation movement, women want to be leaders, but actually they're already leaders by being mothers. They don't want that role, they want something else. गुरुर्न सस्यात् स्वजनो न सस्यात् पिता न सस्यात् जननी न सा स्यात् दैवं न तत्स्यान्न पतिश्च सस्यान्न मोचयेद्यः समुपेत मृत्युम्. One who cannot deliver his dependence from the path of repeated birth and death should never become a spiritual master, relative, father, a husband, a mother, or a worshipable demigod, or even any kind of responsibility. If people are following me, I am a leader. Whether it be even one's own children. So I am a leader. I am leading someone. And if I don't know the path myself, I will be misleading them. And here, worshipable demigod means not only the demigods, but also even in human society, those who accept any kind of worship or adoration, they also come into this category. Actually, if you see this one, अंधम तमः प्रविशन्ति ईशोपनिषद ये संभूतिम उपासते ततो भूय इव ते तमो यौ संभूत्याम रता. Now in this verse, asambhutim is referred to as demigods, and sambhutya means in the absolute, and especially here it is referring to the impersonal version of the absolute, impersonal understanding of the absolute. Now, here the translation is given like this: those who are engaged in the worship of demigods enter into the darkest region of ignorance, and still more so do the worshippers of the impersonal absolute. So, the demigod worshippers go to the darkest region of ignorance, and the impersonal, although they are worshipping Brahma Jyoti, light, but they're actually going to the even darker than the demigod worshippers. Now, that's not my point. The point here is asambhuti means demigods. Now, in the purport, the Sanskrit word asambhuti refers to those who have no independent existence, and therefore it is referred to demigods. Now, if we extrapolate that meaning of asambhuti means sambhuti, sam means samyak, means complete. When one is completely self-sufficient, he is called Sambhuti. Sambhuti is the absolute personality of Godhead, who is absolutely independent of everything because he is self-sufficient. We are not self-sufficient and therefore we are not independent. We need food. Krishna does not need anything. So one can be truly renounced and detached only when he is completely independent, and only the Lord can do that. That's why he is the opulence of Vairagya. Only actually the Lord can have. Now, asambhuti is demigods here, but actually anyone is asambhuti, even humans, animals, because he has no independent existence. And the demigods have no independent existence. Shivasya Shri Vishnor Yaiha Namadi Sakalam Bhinna Pashyet Sa Namahitakaraha. The second offense. The second offense is a very interesting offense. We in English we say that to consider the names of demigods like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma to be equal to or independent of the name of Lord Vishnu. But if you actually see the Sanskrit, there is even more nuance to that. I hope I can take that out. I think 824, right? Uh, you see this. These are the Sanskrit of the 10 offenses. This is the first offense. Now the second offense. Yes, yes, yes. शिवस्य श्रीविष्णोर्य इह गुणनामादि सकलं धिया भिन्नं पश्येत् स खलु हरिनामाहितकरः. Now Shiva and Shri Vishnu, ya iha guna nama adi sakalam. And in fact, in some of the versions of what is this Padma Puran, this word is actually not Shivasya, Shubhasya. Shubhasya Shri Vishnu, ya iha guna nama adi sakalam. Dhiya bhinnam pashet sakhalu nama hari nama hidakar. So this has two meanings. So Shiva or Shubha is actually the same, auspicious. And Shiva is also called Shubhankar. Somebody was arguing with me, oh, your Gaudiya Vaishnavas, you have changed the verse into Shivasya Shri Vishnu. Your Acharyas have. But if you see the Padma Purana, it's Shubhasya Shri Vishnu. I said, there's no difference. So anyway, so Shrivasya means of Lord Shiva and of Lord Vishnu. No. Guna Namadi Sakalam, names, forms and everything, Dhiya Bhinnam Pashyat. I mean, if we consider them as different, Sakhalu Hari Nama Hitaga. That means definitely we are committing an offense. Now this carries the meaning like, oh, that means Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu are same then. If we consider them different, that is an offense. But here, Dhiya Bhinnam means to consider them as independent. They have no relation with each other, Bhinna. That means, in other words, Lord Shiva's name, form, everything is dependent on the form of Vishnu. It's not Bhinna. In that devotional service in the mode of passion and ignorance and even goodness, the word is Bhinna, Bhinna. Bhinna Drik Bhavam. That Bhinna means having a separate understanding. So here also, Dhiya Bhinnam Pashyet. That means if we think there are two independent gods, Shiva and Vishnu, that is an offense. The other meaning is, Shivasya Shri Vishnu, the auspicious name, form, qualities and everything of Vishnu, if we think them as Bhinna, that means if we think that Krishna and his name are separate, are not one, that is also an offense. So there's two meanings to this. So in this way, but if we are not guided by the Acharya, we will easily fall for this understanding that, you see, Shivasya Shri Vishnu, Gunanama Sakalam Dhiya Bhinnam Pashyat Harinama Hitakara. Those who think that Krishna and Shiva's names, if we think they're different, then we are committing an offense. So they must be considered the same. So that's why Acharya is very necessary for us to understand the Shastra. We can easily be misguided. So, the demigod, now Asambhuti means one who is not independent. Now the demigods are not independent, and anyone in this world, we may worship someone, bribe someone. What is actually demigod worship? It's bribery. It's bribery. Because we want something, and then we flatter that person, do some yajna, and then butter him. Actually, literally put butter, clarified butter into the fire. And butter the demigods so that we get what we want. So that is bribery. So here in this world, we may also do the same thing. To get our things sorted, we may bribe somebody or flatter someone, become a sycophant. So that is just the same thing. So that means any leader in this world who people may come to, he is also Asambhuti. So if we worship anybody else other than Sambhuti or Krishna, who is self-sufficient, then we are committing an offense. Then we will go into the darkest region. So it's not only demigod worship, but any worship. That means pop stars. Oh, what is that? Uh, K-pop. What is this other things? Taylor Swift. Huh? American Idol, Beyonce, whatever. So many things are. So many people are there. So this is also in the same category, and even much worse. A very horrible version of demigod worship. They're not even demigods, they're lower than animals, but asambhuti worship, that is. Worshipping anybody who is not independent. Then why do we worship devotees then? They're also asambhuti, right? No, but Krishna says, aham bhakta parad. The devotees control me. So they are actually the most independent people. That is the Lord's way. Of course, the devotee always he's called malleable because he easily agrees to the Lord's wish and he carries out the Lord's order. But because he does that, Krishna carries the order of the devotee. So it's a reciprocal relationship. And in that way, the Lord, by his own mercy, although he is Swarat, he gives that position to his devotees. And he said, he asvatantra eva dvija. Although he is called Swarat, he said, I am asvatantra. Swatantra means, independence. Asvatantra, I am not independent. I am completely under the control of my devotee. So that's why we have to worship devotees. The other day, Prabhu was explaining very nicely that Bhaktivinoda Thakur's disappearance day, right? So he was explaining how it is, why we do not worship demigods and why we worship pure devotees. Have you seen that lecture? You should watch that lecture. It's very important. All kinds of references are given. Why? Because people will ask us this question sometimes. And it's not just because people are asking, we should ourselves know why we are doing things. But, you all don't worship demigods, you all worship humans. Some humans who have passed away. People say something like this. So then we have to know how to explain. What is Acharya's position? Sarvadeva Mayo Guru. Even Lord Brahma and Shiva cannot compare to the position of an Acharya. Of course, they are Acharyas. Spiritually, they are Acharyas. But materially, the post of Brahma and Shiva cannot compare to that of an Acharya. This. Yeah, this is the one, right? Not this. I always 11, 7, 27. Let's gamble. Yeah. Acharyam mam vichaniyan navamanyeta karhichit namartya buddhya suyeta sarvadeva mayo guru. One should know the Acharya as myself and never disrespect him in any way. One should not envy him thinking him an ordinary man, for he is representative of all the demigods. What is the source of that verse which we always used to chant when we were in the school? Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo, Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat, Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. If you see that also, there also it is the same thing. Guru Sakshat Parabrahma. What does it mean? Same thing. What is that? Sakshat Haritvena Samasta Shastra. And he is representative of all the demigods. He is the representation of the Supreme Lord. And therefore we worship the Acharyas. And also, like Prabhu showed the other day, what is that? Takshumsi. Antah dishanti takshumsi bahirarkah samuthitah devata bandhavah santah santa atmahamevacha. My devotees bestow divine eyes, whereas the sun allows only external sight, and that only when it is risen in the sky. My devotees are one's real worshipable deities and real family. They are one's own self, and ultimately they are non-different from me. The sun will show us the world only when it is risen in the sky, and that to external vision. But the sun god is actually a great acharya. Spiritually, yes. But how are we going to benefit? Through the parampara system. By the acharya, there is a current link who is going to teach us. So the acharya, from the demigod position of sun, of course, as a devotee, he is a acharya himself. But in the demigod position, he is only allowing external sight. Internally, they don't know. People are still blind. They don't even know who they are. Who is that? So this is the position of acharya. Om ajnanatimirandhasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai shri gurave namaha. This eye of devotion, bhakti vilochanena, that is opened by the Guru. And therefore we worship acharyas. Their appearance day, their disappearance day, we remember their pastimes and their teachings so that we may advance. So this is bona fide devotional practice. महत कृपा विना कौन कर्मे भक्ति नाय, कृष्ण भक्ति दूरे रहु संसार नाहे क्षय. Unless one is favored by a pure devotee, one cannot attain the platform of devotional service. To say nothing of Krishna Bhakti, one cannot even be relieved from the bondage of material existence. So devotees, mercy and devotees, the worship of devotees is absolutely essential. So let's go back if there is anything else to... अक्लिष्ट बुद्ध्या भरतं भजध्वं शुश्रूषणं तद्भरणं प्रजानां. Yes. Bharanam means carry, prajanam, to ruling over the citizens, ruling over. Now, sometimes, in English, it sounds like exploitation, ruling over the citizens, like making them your slaves. But the Sanskrit word is bharanam prajanam, to carry them to the destination. And here, if you see, 4:29:81, प्राचीन बर्हि राजर्षि प्रजा सर्गाभिरक्षणे आदिश्य पुत्राना अगमत tapase kapilasramam. Now, in the presence of his ministers, the saintly king Prachina Barhi left orders for his sons to protect the citizens. Praja sargano rakshane. He then left home and went off to undergo austerities in a holy place known as Kapilashram. Now, the word Praja Sarga is very important in this verse. Today's verse is also Bharanam Prajanam. When the saintly king Prachina Barhi was induced by the great sage Narada to leave home and take to devotional service of the Lord, his sons had not yet returned from their austerities in the water. However, he did not wait for their return, but simply left messages to the effect that his sons were to protect the mass of citizens. According to Veera Raghava Acharya, such protection means organizing the citizens into the specific divisions of the 4 varnas and 4 ashramas. So, Kshatriya means protection. Not only, he will go in war and fight. When the fighting is not there, he should still protect by organizing the society in varnashram divisions. And if you remember, if you see the history of any great temple in India, it is always built by a king. Today, you see Saudi Arabia, United States, Taiwan, China, even Singapore, they construct to show off their might, to show off their this thing. They construct these big, big buildings which are financial centers, business buildings, or these kind of towers, and they build tall, tall buildings, like this. But and this is how this is their pride. But the pride of a king in those times is how he builds temples for the Lord. And if you see the intricate design of each temple, the architecture, this is their pride. It just shows the consciousness of the people, what is considered important, a temple or a financial center where you make money and use it for sinful activities. Now the CBD, the Central Business District. If you go to Srirangam, the Central Spiritual District, the temple is in the center, 7 circles, walls. There's a whole city. And the people around the temple are the Brahmana community. That is the center of the city. Jagannath Puri. From everywhere, the city, the dome of the temple has to be seen. That is the whole idea of building these tall domes of the temples. From any part of the city, you remember the Lord. Now you see the tallest building will be you'll remember money. And money is the root cause of all evil. This is a sign of an atheistic government. Tall buildings. Tall temples, yes, with that architecture and everything, that is proper civilization. So, Viraraghava Acharya is saying, Prajabhirakshane, Prajasargabhirakshane, is organizing the citizens in Varnashrama. That is protection, spiritual protection for them, material and spiritual, because they are employed, one thing. Now they are trying to solve unemployment. Why? How? Open more factories. Get foreign direct investment, FDIs, into the country. Start an economic corridor where Apple and all these MNCs come and build factories in your country, and then jobs are created. Oh, great! The government is doing great. But this is just Shudra employment. What about the employment for the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas? The Brahmanas also drag to Shudra employment, and this is how the societies are run today. But that is not the way one should be. So Viraraghava Acharya, such protection means organize citizens into varnas and ashramas. It was the responsibility of the royal order to see that the citizens were following the regulative principles of the 4 varnas, namely Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra, and the ashramas, namely Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyas. It is very difficult to rule citizens in a kingdom without organizing this varnashram dharma. To rule the mass of citizens in a state and keep them in a complete progressive order is not possible simply by passing laws every year in a legislative assembly. The varnashram dharma is essential in a good government. One class of men, the Brahmanas, must be intelligent and Brahmanically qualified. Another class must be trained in administrative work, Kshatriya. Another in mercantile business, Vaishya, and another simply in labor, Shudra. These 4 classes of men are already there according to nature, but it is the government's duty to see that all 4 of these classes follow the principles of their varnas methodically. This is called abhirakshana or protection. Protection means to engage them in their duty. The king may not be able to save the person from death, but he can save him from sinful activities which will lead him to further suffering. That's why it is said in the 335 Bhagavad Gita, what is more dangerous than death? Shreyant swadharmo viguna paradharmat svanushthitat swadharme nidhanam shreyah paradharmo bhayavaha. It is far better to discharge one's prescribed duties, even though faultily, than another's duties perfectly. Destruction in the course of performing one's own duty is better than engaging in another's duties, for to follow another's path is dangerous. Now, destruction, that means death, complete annihilation of the person, is better than following another's path. Another's path is dangerous. What is dangerous? What can be more dangerous than death? More dangerous than death is going to hell. Because death anyway will happen. But after that, what will happen? And death is actually a natural course of events. The dangerous thing is where we go after that. Just like students, they become nervous when exam time comes. They become fearful of the exam. Of course, those who have not prepared. Even those who have prepared sometimes get fearful. because they don't want to. I want to get 100%. 99 is no good for me. So they will just cram everything. They're fearful of the exam, but actually, exam will anyway happen for the person who has prepared and for the person who has not prepared. But the thing that we have to be worried about is what is going to be the future after the exam. Similarly, death is an exam. People become afraid of death. But actually, death will anyway happen for the prepared and for the unprepared. But what is the destination of these two? You should be fearful of that. That's why those who are in the mode of goodness, they can see these things and they know what ought to be feared and what ought not to be feared. Avritim cha nivritim cha karya karye bhaya bhaye bandham moksham cha yavetti buddhi sa partha satviki. O son of Pritha, that understanding by which one knows what ought to be done and what ought not to be done, what is to be feared and what is not to be feared, what is binding and what is liberating is in the mode of goodness. Now you may say, oh, devotee is fearless. Abhay Charanaravinda. He has taken shelter of Abhay Charanaravinda, so he is fearless. Taken shelter of the fearless lotus feet of Krishna. But he also fears. What does he fear? The influence of Maya. What ought to be feared? It's not that, daredevil. Only devils, they dare. As I say, there's what is it? Fools rush in where angels fear to tread. So angels fear to tread the path of sin, but the fools rush. Oh, I'm fearless, I'm a daredevil. Yeah, you're a devil, that's why. So, those in the mode of goodness, they know what ought to be feared. We should fear lack of association of devotees. If I'm going alone and if I'm alone, then I have to fear that position. Oh, I'm no devotees with me. I'm all alone. Sitting duck for Maya. Sitting duck. So that is to be feared. So wherever there is lack of devotional service, we should fear that. Some people are very confidently going, they are here doing devotional service. Out of fantasy, they want to go. No, I want to go Europe. I want to shift to Europe or America. Good American dream. What is your idea of your Krishna consciousness? You have association of devotees, and especially so in the present context, the Ritvik system is very, very, ISKCON, yeah, you can go, but again, what you will be introduced to there? Guru system, and everything is falling apart. So, when they have such nice, if there is no compulsion, why should I just whimsically think of some plan and go to a place where there is no devotees, no association, nothing? Why am I so confident? I can I can take on Maya. What is Maya for me? Maya should be scared of me. One boy told like that. He was a so-called devotee. He said, I don't need to be scared of girls. Girls should be scared of me. I am the Maya for them. He used to talk like that. So that means, you see, not careful. So bharanam prajanam means to carry them to the destination. That's very important. Ruling over the citizens means to carry them to the destination. Just like a parent, he will guide in every way. Of course, he rules over the child. He maintains the child, he disciplines the child, but only to carry him to the proper destination. Comfortable life in their own understanding. But here, proper understanding is to become Krishna conscious. So that is the purpose of ruling, not simply economic development, GDP, increase economy, by 6%, 7%, 15%. That is not the sign of advancement. Now, India, people are, a little bit becoming more patriotic and more kind of interested in their own roots and culture, a little bit. Some awakening is happening. But they still measure themselves according to Western, whatever capitalist benchmarks. Oh, we are, we can do it. Our GDP has grown by this much. Again, they're measuring themselves with the same yardstick as the materialistic countries. So that's not the way. We should follow the injunctions in Shastra and create a new standard, which is the actual real standard, which is spiritual advancement of the people. That is the measure. And when one is spiritually advanced, materially also it will be advanced. Bharat was fully opulent until spiritually it was drained and then materially it was robbed. So every opulence was there in India when they were spiritually. People sometimes ask, "Arey, you are saying, leave everything and become sadhu. Arey, everybody become sadhus, then who will run? How will there be prosperity?" I said, the world will be more prosperous. Where is prosperity now? They think like this, oh, if everybody becomes sadhu, then no prosperity. The world will be more prosperous actually. Just before we end this. 1840. इमे जनपदाः श्रद्धाः सुपक्वौषधिविरुधः वनाद्रिनद्युदन्मन्तो ह्येधन्ते तव वीक्षितैः. All these cities and villages are flourishing in all respects because the herbs and grains are in abundance. The trees are full of fruits, the rivers are flowing, the hills are full of minerals, and the oceans are full of wealth. And this is all due to your glancing over them. Kunti Devi is saying to Krishna. So this is real advanced civilization. We think advancement means having big buildings, road infrastructure, railway projects, in airports, and this we think is advancement. It is not. It is not advancement. When we think, oh, previous communities used to be, primitive. They know only how to do agriculture. So one Western fellow, he was writing on the Rig Veda. I was just saying, what do people think about Rig Veda? Rig Veda seems to be existing about 3,000 years back, and people used to be doing already agriculture at that time because agriculture is mentioned. What? People were so advanced. So they were thinking it's a primitive thing. And primitive means what? Something which existed in the beginning. Actually, whatever existed in the beginning is not worse than what is existing now. Beginning Brahma was there. He is the most primitive person in the universe, but he is the most advanced. Modernity, whatever is now coming, that is more advanced than before. That is a wrong idea. With progress of Kali Yuga, it only becomes deteriorated, not advanced or not improved. So when we see these infrastructure projects and all these, glitter and glamour, we should understand that it is a sign of complete atheism and complete darkness. There is zero advancement in such a civilization. It is those which are, centered around temples, especially Krishna temples, and that is the proper advanced civilization. It doesn't need to be so complicated. All these infrastructures not required. We just need food. Why can't it be simple and save time for Krishna consciousness? That is real advanced civilization. Depending on all, you see, what did Kunti say? Because Krishna, you are here, all infrastructure projects are, really taking on really well, and we have huge skyscrapers, and all because of you. No, all natural resources. So anyway, I'll stop it here. Any questions or comments on this topic? So many questions. What is that? Adi Shankaracharya. Spiritual guide. Okay, so I think I'll stop here. No questions. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की, श्रील प्रभुपाद की, निताय गौर प्रेमानंद।